welcome to today's episode of Chicken and Pastry for the Soul. I'm here today with my dad, Robert Lowery. Hello, Dad, and I'm Chuck Lowery. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about gardening. Hey, Dad, tell me something. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how long have you had a garden?
Oh, Lord. Ever since I got married in 1950, I had a garden ever since.
Well, whenever you were growing up, did you guys have a garden back then?
Yeah.
Well, I know that was kind of like during the Depression and all, but tell me some of the things, what's some of the things that you guys grew back in that time?
That what?
What's some of the food that y'all grew back in there?
Peas, butter beans, roasting ear corn,
So,
okras.
but how did they take care of the peas and butter beans and stuff like that? How did they can that away?
They canned them.
And how was that
in
done?
Jars.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. My wife, you had many of ones. Your mama's fixed in jars.
Yeah, some of the peas and butter beans is some of the best eating that you'd ever have, with some cornbread and peas and butter beans and I guess what they call fatback. That was, to me, was a meal and a half. So whenever you plant in a garden in the springtime,
You what now?
whenever you start planting your garden in the springtime,
Yeah.
when do you think you need to start planting your garden or getting the soil ready?
Around the 20th of March.
All right, how do you know it's that time?
Well, you look at the calendar.
Well, what is some of the things that you put in the soil to get ready for your crop? Do you put fertilizer in it, or do you put lime, or a combination of all?
I use nitrogen. I don't use fertilizer. I use nitrogen all the time. And as soon as it catches a hold, I start putting it downside it, fly it up to it.
So I know that you plant a lot of, or we have, and it's just been a joy the last few years to spend time with you and know planting a garden where you got peas and butter beans and okra and squash, cucumbers. Those are some of the things that I grew up with, and it's so nice to be able to plant it and go, well, that's yours, that's of your own. And for us to be able to plant collards and have plenty that you've given away to the community. And I know we grew cantaloupe and watermelon and stuff like that, and we ended up, all the neighbors, they enjoyed every bit of it, and we had plenty for us. And of course, Margaret and Sally, they had a chance to put a lot away in the freezer, just like Mom used to do all the time. But you know, being able to be out here in the garden with you and watch you on your tractor, and shoot, for that case, allow me to get on the tractor a little bit.
They're always planning enough for the neighbors.
Yeah, and I know you always use the term, you know, you're supposed to give away and take care of your neighbors, because things will be able to be taken care of you. So Native Americans grow a lot of collards. So what does that mean to you? I know we've always grown collards, but, you know, tell me a little bit about, you know, cutting collards, eating collards, some of the things that you like having with collards. What does it mean for the Native people?
Well, I like collards, and I like turnip, but no cabbage. I don't like that.
But I know you eat mustard, and I know Mother used to make a lot of chow.
Yeah.
And did you like that with your collards?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of time for Native American people, that was just some of the things that came along during that era, and it was the things that we could afford, that Native American people could afford to plant and have plenty of, because a lot of Native Americans then and now still share a lot with each other and with other people. It's just not just a Native American thing. They give and give a lot to their neighbors, regardless of who they are, and make sure that everyone has plenty to eat.
Yeah, if you go back down that building back of the house, you'd probably find some of that cha-cha and all that stuff still back there, and there ain't nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, the good part is that whenever you're planting a garden, you end up having not just me and Dad out here. I end up having my sisters helping as well as the neighbors. They also come and join in and help. So it becomes not a just he and I thing. It becomes a neighborhood thing that kind of helps out. And therefore, whenever it's all ready, everybody has a chance to get a little bit of everything. But it's just so much fun spending time with him growing stuff in the garden. It's just become something that he and I do. And now that he's gotten older, it's one of those things that I feel that it helps keep him active. It helps keep me active. And we both look forward to getting out here and working in the garden whenever I get home from work every afternoon. It's just it's a work of joy, and we enjoy doing it. We don't have to do it. We just love doing it. And so, but anything else, Dad, you'd like to add to any of this? Anything else you'd like to say about gardening? And what I tell you what, why don't you give me some tips that would be nice for other people to know about gardening that might be able to, that's interested in starting gardening?
When you start a garden now, it's a lot of work, but you've got to tend to it and keep the grass out of it, keep it fly and everything like that.
I tell you what, you've got a hoe that's been around for quite a while. Why don't you spin that hoe around and let's take a look at it. I meant to bring this up earlier, but right here is a hoe that, would you say this hoe is about 30 years old?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a hoe that's probably been worn down, and I from experience can tell you this hoe really cuts through the dirt like it should. And I know there's a lot of elders and a lot of young people out there that probably have hoes similar to this that's made just for gardening. The ones that you buy out of the store, if you bring those to a farm or to a garden, you'll end up having people to cut them down and make them smooth and a lot easier to use. But Dad has been using this hoe probably 30 years. The handle's probably that old as well. But anyway, he allows me to use it every now and again, and I've enjoyed using it. I'd much rather use this hoe than there's 2 or 3 other ones that's in the barn, but this one here is pretty much the one of choice. How often do you come out to the garden? I know we're pretty much out here every day or every other day.
Well, I walk across there at least every other day, not every day now. And
well, in the summertime, whenever you've got peas and butter beans and corn and different sorts, you have to manage a lot of those things, and a lot of it is pretty much daily. Now, whenever you get the collards is one of those things that you can plant it and make sure that you give it the proper nitrogen, fertilizer, etc., and keep it plowed, and you can just about forget it until Thanksgiving. But one of the bigger things about collards that makes them so good is whenever they get a frost or 2 or 3 frosts on the collards, and a lot of people have tried putting them in the freezers. Yeah, that works too, but I'm telling you, once they get 2 or 3 frosts on them and around Thanksgiving, they're very tasty. They break apart very easy. They cut very easy, and in terms of collards. But anyway, I just want to thank you guys for joining us for today's episode of Chicken and Pastry for the Soul. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon, and thank you for enjoying this time with me and my dad. Have a good day. They don't exist. Oh, there's going to be pretty there. Yeah, some of these here are turning out pretty good.